This is Arts Alive. I'm Lynda Philippi. My guest today is Susan Day. She is an artist who lives out in Yam Hill and will be one of the featured artists on this year's Art Harvest Studio Tour, which is the first 2 weekends in October. Welcome.
Thank you.
I know that you are a veteran of the tour.
I have been 20 years approximately. I've lost count.
And it's always delightful to visit you on the tour because you have such a charming little place.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, your house looks like that little cottage in the woods that you just imagine an artist would live in. It's very, it's very
that's what
you.
it is.
Yeah,
it is a reflection of myself.
So I know that over the years you've done a lot of work in pastels and some watercolor. Yes.
No, not too much oils. I've worked in oils,
but mostly pastels.
Yes.
And we have some images of some of your work because I know that people will probably recognize that. And after we talk about that, I'm hoping that we can talk about your new stuff.
Great.
Okay,
Sounds
so
great.
We'll wait for Mr. Music. There we go.
Oh, this is a fall vineyard. The vineyards are the best time to paint because the leaves are changing, and I paint on location. So I go set up my easel, and what I'm seeing is what I paint. And any of the vineyard ones will probably be in the fall. Green is kind of boring to me, all green. So. Another vineyard scene. This is up on Blackburn Hill Road in Carlton, and I've painted there many times. It's just a gorgeous view, and I've painted it at all times of day. But the season is fall for vineyards for me.
You know, it's really true. You can look at the same vineyard over and over and get a different picture every day.
Well, even during the day. Morning light's different than afternoon light. And when I work on a piece, I work 2 to 3 hours, then I put it away and come back the next day. This is another vineyard on Woodland Loop Road in the distance, and then you can see way in the distance there are some other vineyards there. But I have the breakup of the trees in front, which was interesting for me to try. That was a fun experiment in a piece. Again, another vineyard. I guess she said all vineyards, and it's in the fall.
It's your theme.
I guess it
of
is.
This show.
I did a lot of vineyards when the weather's nice. Not last year. It started raining after studio tour, and I was not able to get out and paint the vineyards. So that was sad for me. But so these were done the year before. The weather was absolutely gorgeous, and I had a whole season from 6:30 in the morning till sunset every day. I painted. It was just beautiful. Was energized. Crimson clover is always one of the first crops I do, and this year I was traveling for the winter, so I didn't get back in time to do the crimson clover, but I sure enjoy looking at it. Wheat, when they cut the wheat, that's what's happening now.
I know, that's so pretty.
Pretty much.
I love that one.
That's over in Carlton where I painted that. It's all local Yam Hill County. I paint here because I live here and I don't have to drive far to find beauty. More wheat before it's cut. I think this is oats, actually. It's with the Queen Anne's lace in the front on Old Railroad grade between Yam Hill and Carlton. I painted that piece. That was fun. They're all fun. Oh, this is at the Lavender Farm, at Donna Delicatte's Lavender Farm, Woodland Lavender up on Woodland Loop Road. And she has an old house, and my daughter was married on this location.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
A couple of years ago. So I painted the house where they took a lot of photos of the kids when they were married.
I love that.
Oh, and yeah, the woods are really an interesting thing because there's so much going on. I mean, with the field, there's a lot of flat, big area. In the woods, it's very complicated to kind of get it into a pattern in your head and then proceed. And this was a dirt road, so if people don't slow down when they go by you, you're encased in dirt while you're working.
Oh my goodness.
It's not so fun. And this is just a little waterway where there was a little baby heron that after I had been there about an hour, came walking out. I'm sure it was looking for its mother, and I'm sure the mother wanted me to move so she can come back to her baby.
That's pretty.
Another of the fields with the blackberries in front on that one. It's in the fall. These are blueberry bushes. In the fall, they are brilliant red.
Wow.
And it's just reminds me of New England where I grew up, seeing such a brilliant red.
All the colors. And,
yeah. I mean, we have a lot of golds and oranges here, but not the brilliant red. So when I found the blueberries, I painted them a lot. Good, happy reminder. This is just a little creek that I went camping at, and the challenge of running water, although it doesn't show much in this version, is a real challenge to me, to stop motion and be able to capture it. So I had fun. There's another of the water scenes. And
It's interesting because when I was putting these on the flash drive to bring them in, I was looking at them because they were blown up big on the computer screen, and I thought, boy, you could, I mean, like every tiny little stroke. That must take forever.
it takes a while.
You can't just go,
a while.
You're just a wash of color. I mean, you're really making every little tiny stroke. It's crazy.
This is back to the original one, the vineyard.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
yeah.
And there we go, a few more. So Susan, let's talk about, so you spent the winter traveling.
The last 2 winters I have, it's always been my dream when my children were grown that I would sell everything and travel. I always used to say to my kids, 1 spoon, 1 fork, 1 knife, goodbye. And my daughter was probably 8, she's 26, and said, Mom, how are we going to know where you are? And I said, oh, I'll send you postcards, don't worry. Well, I haven't sold everything, but I am traveling. I bought a small RV 2 years ago, and I owned it for 10 days, and I left for the winter and headed to Arizona. And I had always intended to travel and paint. I thought they'd go hand in hand. And I took all my materials to paint, but it was not about painting. It was really about the journey. And it kind of put me in a place of transformation. And I just was so here and now when I travel. Wherever I am, that's where I am. And to stand in one place for hours and then repeat that the next day and the next day or however long to complete a piece just wasn't in me to do that. I was just journeying, and I now call it meandering.
I like that.
When I came back the first year, I thought, well, something must have come of this. I didn't paint, so what's going on? And as I was coming up the Oregon coast on my way home, I realized that there were 2 things that I was very taken by the Kachinas in the Hopi tradition.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
The
they
little dolls,
just, they're little dolls, and they're beautiful, and they all have meaning, and I felt surrounded by angels my whole trip. I felt so protected. I often camped on BLM land or Forest Service land off the beaten track, all by myself, me and my cat. And
The guard cat.
yeah, she's my guide. She was my guide cat. And so those came together for me to do something around that. And hence I developed the Evolution Angels, I call them. And that's what I have here. And these all are made from recycled materials or found at thrift stores or whatever. And all of them have sayings either typed on my typewriter. Sometimes if they're short, I use hand stamps and then I attach them. And once I got into this, it was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to stop. This is so fun. Last year when it rained after studio tour and I couldn't go out painting, I worked on angels and I just fell in love with it. And so when I took off last winter, I took some small pieces, dominoes, and I made miniature Evolution Angels. And so these are what have come from my traveling, are these angels. And even this itself is evolving, I'm finding. There are other series of work that I feel like have been downloaded in me that I can't wait to start. I realized this year when I came back and I tried to go out and paint, there was something missing. And so I went back to the studio and I started the assemblage again. And I was just energized. I couldn't wait to get up in the morning to work on these angels. So these are some of the larger ones I have. I'll be having them at studio tour. Some of the smaller ones that I have are also made of found objects. And part of it for me is figuring out the assemblage of things, how to make them work. And how, like these pieces, when you buy a canvas, it has these pieces in it to stretch it out a bit.
Okay.
And so I've painted them and cut up a dictionary and put wings on them for those. The little faces on a lot of them are actually dolls, and the bigger ones are from a doll book. And I put the frame over it and cut out the shape that it's going to be. So those are recycled. The most recent pieces that I'm working on, I have 10 old mouse traps, and that's the basis for these angels. They're so magical and whimsical, and even these have at least one word, if not anything else, of inspiration to people. I'm hoping that when people see these, This one, I'm sorry I haven't put the word on, but she was so cute I couldn't leave her at home with the glasses
well,
and
the
all.
rhinestones.
They were just too fun
Yeah.
not to bring to show, and they're still being worked on.
I really have always wanted glasses like that, by the way.
Oh, you can get them, I think, or
Yeah.
I could help you make them. If you bring me a plain pair, I could probably
that'd be
glue
fun.
sequins on it for
Yeah.
you, little jewels. This one, on the face of this one, I used a antler button that I happen to have. And I'm a collector at heart. I've been since I was a kid. And I have a lot of cool stuff. And now I get to use it. That's the best part. And when I go to a thrift store, which is like treasure hunting for me, I get to see if there are any treasures that I can find, or garage sales, or whatever. So these angels that I'm developing and the other projects that are coming to me to work on, which are all assemblage, are totally different than my painting. I'm actually surprised myself. I've had a hard time talking about it to people because since 1969 I've studied to be a painter, and it's been a lot of work to get to the point where I'm able to make a living with my painting. And now it's like I've jumped off a cliff. I'm not doing it, which doesn't mean I won't do it again. It just means it's not what I'm doing now. I really have such passion for these pieces that I'm working on that I want to continue in that vein. It can be scary at my age to kind of turn a page and say, well, I'm going to do this now.
I'm really, really great at this. I've spent 40 years getting good at this.
Yeah.
And now I want to do something else.
Yes.
I mean, really, why not?
That's been well, why not is because I depend on this for an income.
There you go.
That's one reason that it can be scary in a way. But it's such a strong pull. I have to just trust.
I think if you really had to, you could bang out a few Velvet Elvises. You know, just for the sheer commercial success.
I don't know. Velvet Elvis? Maybe that'd be hard.
But no, these are great. I mean, I think, you know, obviously you have to do what you're motivated to do. That's what your whole life is about.
Well, I could continue to paint in a rote manner, but my heart wouldn't be in it like it has been in the past, and maybe again. Right now, this is where I feel led, and I'm just thrilled to be able to have some to show this year for studio tour, and I'm interested in people's responses to them, how they react to what I'm doing, because I know in Yamhill County, I've lived here for 29 years in Yamhill, and that's how people see me, as Susan Day, a plein air painter. When I first came back this year from traveling, people would say, oh, did you paint when you were gone? And it was like, no. Well, you must be painting now.
Not really, no.
And so I couldn't even talk about these. It took me a while to be able to, you know, say this is what I'm doing now, because people look at you like you got three heads. Wait a minute, I have you in a box here, and this is who you are, and it surprises me as well as anyone else.
So I guess what we can say is that that's even more reason for people to come and visit you on the tour this year, because in addition to
I do have
the favorites that people love, you also have some really brand new things, and I do. I want to thank you for coming in today and for sharing your new work.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.